Whoa, we're live. Woo! Hey! Woo! Welcome to the show! Every week's a little different. Every week. Woo! Happy almost St. Patrick's Day! Woo! What's up, Michael?
Well, it's funny, Jack, that St. Patty's Day means very little to me now.
Oh, definitely as you get older, wiser, definitely has a different, it could all be a little different. Yes, agree with that.
It's got a sort of like, I used to call that amateur night, and now I'm the amateur. So
New Year's, right? As you get older, right? New Year's Eve, St. Patrick's Day. There's your hand. New Year's Eve, St. Patrick's Day. You gotta get off the road before midnight. That's the key. Get off the road before midnight. So they say, look, in my previous world, I used to work with police officers 24/7, and the biggest thing, right? It's everything bad happens after midnight. So get off the road, whatever you're doing. It's always when you see something dumb, Dateline. It's always sometime after midnight. It's always at 3 a.m. You never see, a man eats 12 people. And Dateline's never noon. It's always 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So, all right, hey, welcome to the show. Hope everybody's doing great. Happy pre-St. Patrick's Day. Mike's here today. Want to tell folks?
I'm here, and it's Jake's girlfriend Lexi's birthday.
Whoa, big shout out today. Big shout out.
Then behind the scenes. A big shout out to iHelp.
Yeah, you're looking early. We got all our things. Mike just got in, by the way. It's one of those technical cameras. It was all happening. Lighting.
My third camera for the show so far, and we're only a minute and a half in.
So funny. Yes, I wanted to, since Mike brought it up, I want to remind everybody, we're sponsored by iHelp. Super thankful for their sponsorship. If you're unfamiliar with iHelp, all the stuff you use to communicate with folks online in this new virtual workplace, all in one spot. So $5 a month, go to iHelp. Literally, that's the URL, iHelp, and sign up $5 a month. Everything you do online in one spot. All your whatever you use for web conferencing, you can online schedule all of your social media links, your company website, your personal website. You can take electronic payments. You can do all your calls, email, messages, everything one spot. When you send an email and the stupid file's too big, you got to resend it or share it. All that can be done on iHelp. Amazing platform. Everyone will have an iHelp handle. Go get yours now. I think it's free for a couple of weeks. You get the first couple of weeks free, $5 a month. As you always hear, avoid Starbucks one day. Go get iHelp. Amazing platform. Will be great for future connection. So you don't have to send 19 emails. And what their business model really at the bottom of your email, you go, hey, connect with me at i.help/Mike Denker, Jack Siney, Jack S, whatever you want to do. And you're set to go. So thank you, i.help. Amazing platform. Go get your i.help handle before someone else takes it. Right? Use your first name. It's always the key to big time success. So how's everything else going, Mike? Listen, I saw a great meme this morning I wanted to share. I loved it. I was scrolling through all my social media stuff. So this lady I know, she posted, she goes, great news. My loan was approved. Super excited. Just heard from the bank. And I'm heading to the gas station now to get my gas. That was good. That made me chuckle. Let's not laugh. I really saved it. I'm like, that's the world we're in right now. Yep. If you haven't got, there you go. Look, that's a little late on the beaker blast. More like a clap, because the production crew is even slow on the draw too. But I mean, it's forced. It's like, if it's forced, it's not worthy. So I love that little meme. She set it up just like a home loan. And so I hope you are getting through a gas. I think that is even more for everybody that wants to work from home. Because if not, then you got to ask for a salary increase for your commute if they're going to make you go back to the office. Crazy times. The gas price.
It's funny when you think about things. You know what I mean? There's, like, you and I talk a lot about the things we take for granted in life. And I think that's the core of our whole show, right? The things we take for granted, right? But there's some critical things you can't sidestep in life, especially if you're on track to success. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is the world around us. It's always changing. And don't ever think you have a handle on it, right? Because if you hold on too tight to that handle, you're just going to break your hand or the handle, because it's or both.
I think it's interesting. The younger generation is just going through this. All those of us probably over 45 lived through all the Soviet Union, the Cold War, and we really haven't had much of that, besides some small little incursions. But this now, like the younger generation's like, oh, there's global consequences. There's like this thing, Russia. So very interesting. Those of us who have a previous position about the old Soviet Union, now Russia, and watching it play out. For us, it's like, oh yeah, of course, they're crazy, maniacal dictators. But for the new generation, like, what's up with Russia? I thought they were nice. Their flag's red, white, and blue, aren't they? They're part of the good guys, but they're not. Well, I guess we'll see. Time will tell. Certainly wish if you have connections in the country of Ukraine or in any way associated directly, certainly send out your best. If you're on social media at all, you see a lot of just very sobering images and sobering times. We're so blessed. Whatever's happening in your life today, take a deep breath, because we are so blessed. We don't have rockets, blowing up and just all the things we take for granted on a daily basis. Access to all the things. We went through that with COVID too. When you went to the store and you're like, some of the aisles are half empty. You're like, I've never experienced this. So we're just so blessed to live in this country. And I would add one little thing: when you travel, and then we'll get to integrity. When you travel overseas, it's when you go to a outside probably the top 30 industrialized countries, you realize why folks are trying to migrate from other countries, because you see some of the daily conditions they live in that we just take for granted: plumbing, food, transportation, all those things. Camera number 6 for Mike. This is live.
I am. I cannot. It's great. Though.
That's worse.
I am bright. I am burned. I look like I'm a burnt out light bulb.
You are right.
But it is not going to get me down, Jack. I'm going to try to get my automatic camera to show up there. There we go. It's too funny for tears. So
it started with StreamYard, because they were out this morning as well. So it's been a constant technical battle. So,
well, listen, I really want to, it's funny that, what's great though, is that it's so perfect for the topic of integrity.
Go ahead, take
right?
it.
Because I was sitting in the barber's chair today, and she goes, "What's going on today?" I go, "I'm so thankful to get a haircut. I'm going to be on live at noon." And so she goes, "Oh, that's great." In the middle of my haircut, she goes, "Oh, there's my friend with their dogs. I need to go say hi to the dogs." Then she comes back and she cut my hair. I go, "Okay, now we're cutting it close, but no pun intended." And then she says, "Wait, oh, those dogs need water." I'm like, so as I'm watching this, and of course I get home in time back to the office, but then the camera just will not cooperate. It's like laughing at me. And so what's really funny is that this is where integrity is revealed.
Oh, tie it in. Do some
because,
Go ahead.
Because when you think about it, that integrity is what you hope is inside you, right? Integrity is the character and the integrity of who you want to be. You hope it's in there and you hope it's real. But there's an old saying that says you don't know what's in a tea bag till you throw it in hot water.
Oh.
And so, sometimes our hot water seems like it's a little, like we talked about Ukraine, and I'm talking about sitting in a barber's chair. So listen, that's the hot water I was in. So right there is that opportunity to, am I going to be Mike Denker the way Mike Denker wants to be all the time? Or am I going to be mad, upset, out of sorts, look different than what I want Mike Denker?
Lady, cut my hair, dang it.
Hey, she never, it's so great. What is the thing about the duck? The duck where it's sitting on the water, like the duck's on top of the water so calm, but underneath it's just kicking like crazy. Yeah. Right. But sometimes we have to be like that, that we have to go, you know what? Who am I? And that's who I'm going to reflect right now. And whoever I do reflect, odds are that's really what's going on inside. And so she does not know that I cared that she fed, gave water to the dogs, and she did not. Her tip was good, right? She has no idea about what was going on inside of me while she was watering the dogs. And I think that it's a small illustration of integrity, right? Are you the same person in the middle of stress, in the middle of chaos, right? That you are when times are good and everybody's happy and, you know, you got the extra check for some reason. Like, are you the same person or are you circumstantial? Ooh, that's such a good word. Do you live circumstantially?
It's that successory poster, right? It's like trials don't make your character, it reveals your character, right? It's a similar concept of this integrity issue. And for the folks that are watching the show, we're going to talk about the second half of the show of like, hey, do you really need integrity, right? Because I think as we were talking about, you know, as you're following the show lately, we have a series of words associated with success, and then you think about, I've met people that didn't seem to have a lot of integrity that had outward success. So we're going to talk about that. But before we jump into that part of it, I just want us to kind of piggybacking off what Mike said. Look, what are we really saying? Like, what is integrity? So went to the Google machine. I think we have that graphic of, hey, what does Google say integrity is? The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness, the state of whole and undivided. And so the second one is really, I think, what you were talking about, Mike, of, hey, are you the same way all the time? Right? Like, do your circumstances cause you to do something different? And then I think most folks think about integrity as of this moral character, this moral fiber. There is a wide array on the Google machine of memes. I think we have the one where it's like, hey, you know, integrity what do you do when no one's looking? You know, and for those of you that are familiar with Stephen Covey or the 7 Habits, there's a couple of stories in there. Or if you go to one of those seminars when he used to be alive, one of his things we would do 2 examples all the time I love. One would fill the jar with rocks, right? And so if you put the big rocks in first, you get all the rocks in. You put the little rocks in first, you can't get all the rocks in. So there's a theory about make sure you get the important things done first. That's a great example. Visual, very powerful. And then the second one, I happened to go to one of his conferences. He'd bring someone on stage. You know, he'd scan the audience. He'd be like, hey, you know, who works out? Who's in shape? Who can do 20 push-ups for me? So he plays it out. There's this whole debate about, I'll give you $20 for 20 push-ups, and the person goes up, and inevitably they do it. He has the crowd count it out, and the person gets done. He gives them $20 or $50, whatever it is. You know, he just talks about, hey, in front of all these people, you're going to do all 20 push-ups. You know, there's 7,000 people watching. They're counting. You have $50 on the line. And his point was, hey, when you're home at night and you have on your schedule to do your 20 push-ups or do your workout or wherever it is, and no one's watching, what do you do? And that was his example of talking about, hey, what do you do when no one's watching, right? This theory of integrity, like, does it carry through? Because I think one other point, I'll hand it back to you, Mike, would be like, it's also on social media. Like, there's this thing of like, everyone puts out their best typically on social media, right? Very few people go, this is me. I'm super mad. My wife and I got in a big fight, or I lost a lot of money yesterday, or, you know, it's always the super good things. And so I think our, what is that? Integrity's doing the right. Oh yeah. Even if no one's watching. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of those memes out there about that. And so it's like, I think we default to that because we put on these masks of, I need everyone to think it's all perfect, and it's not perfect. Right.
You know, it's, it reminds me of in school. I remember, I don't know about you, but when they taught integers, it was after I mastered fractions, I mastered decimals, and now they're teaching me integers. I thought it was the dumbest concept. I just got so good at breaking things down into parts, and now they're saying there's no parts. And so I always remember like being so fresh, like, what does this mean that I can only use whole numbers? But then when I realized integer is the same root word as integrity, it rang so true that integrity is whole, right? There's that if you're a person of high integrity, you're not a person of parts. You're a complex person. You can be. It's not like you're simplified. You can be complex, but you are the same complex person in every situation, right? That your morals are whatever the values are that you said are yours in the best of times. They're still yours, and you're whole in you're maintaining those values in the worst of times, right? It's integrity it's only revealed in the worst of times. It's like we can all be, almost anybody's a nice person when everything's good, right? They call it unicorns and rainbows or something like that. You know, it's like, listen, there's no test of integrity there.
Yep.
But when it hits the fan, right? And here's the thing we all know about, I love those words: justly, honorably, right? Consistent, trustworthy, truthful. The word trustworthy, that it's got a word in there. There's such a heavy word in that word. It's two of them, two heavy words: trust and worthy. Those are words that are not to be taken lightly in life. And trust is something we all want. We all value trusting other people that are trustworthy. When we know them, we're so thankful to have them in our lives. But we also want to be trusted.
Yeah.
And nothing hurts. The couple of times I can remember where somebody exhibited a lack of trust in me, I don't think anything hurt me in my stomach more, from, not striking me with a physical blow, like just that hurts so much to know that somebody I respect, somebody I care about, their trust either went away, I blew it, or it went down a couple notches. But for some reason they exhibited something that says they don't trust me. They don't trust me 100%.
It's interesting in this as a little bit of a maybe 180 or a little slightly Charles Barkley. I'm not a role model of. I think folks relate to integrity being good moral character, the kind of the Google definition. But I think also if we're super honest with ourselves, I think we all have moments we're not proud of, right? Today's everyone has a video, on your phone, like those moments. Well, luckily when we were young, it didn't get captured, but today everyone has a phone. So it's like people's not best moments are captured. But I think also for me, in integrity, which is really important, is consistency. Like if somebody is the way they are and it going in, I think people adjust. Like, hey, I can't go to Bob for financial advice, not the best with his money. But if all the other parts of Bob's life are good, it's fine. Like everyone can't be great at everything, right? And again, I think integrity in a perfect world, we'd all be these moralistic, greatly righteous people doing the right thing all the time. But I think in there it talks about always consistency. It's like, making sure that you are, because we're all flawed, the same way all the time with people, and it lets them interact with you in a way where they know what they're going to get. And the reason I say all that is because for me, the hardest part is being around someone or having someone in my life, typically not for the long term, that like one day they're X, the next day they're Y, 2 weeks later there's something else, and you're like, feel, it's it makes you feel like that, right? It makes you feel like that. You feel a little like they're, and unless they have some medically diagnosed disease of being multi-personality or bipolar, you're really looking for consistency with people, and then we bring them into our lives typically based on what consistent thing they've given us. Like I have people in my life that are very analytical. I go to them for certain things. I have people that are more soft and people-based. I go to them for certain things. And so I think that's the key. Of in a perfect world, we're all moralistic, righteous all the time. Not true, right? And then the other part is finding people that are consistent all the time.
Yeah. Part of that consistency is knowing yourself.
Yeah. Right.
That you can't. If somebody says, "Hey, are you good at this?" and you're not, and you say, "Well, sure I am. What do you need? How can I help you?" Well, you just set yourself up to be inconsistent, right? That it's so much easier to go, "No, but I know somebody." I mean, Jack, you laugh at me all the time, but I usually do know somebody that is really good at whatever you're looking for. And so, but I don't.
By the way, in South Florida, Mike could be the mayor of South Florida, all 3 counties, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade. He knows Mike's highly net worth. He's missing his calling, not running for office. So.
Well, but what's so cool about that is that, thank you, Jack, but is that I don't have to be the expert. I'm much more comfortable being a connector, right? Say, hey, I'm not really great at that, but so-and-so is really great at that. And you know what the most frustrating times in my life are, right? That the most frustrating times in my life are when somebody asks me if I can help them do something. And I say it's out of the goodness of my heart, but it's probably pride. Only pride would say I'm good at something that I'm not, right? And gets me into this situation where it would have been so much better if I would have just played connector instead of solver.
Yeah.
And we got a comment from our friend Chris that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Like that double-minded, that's a saying we don't consider much, right? That's not in business books very often, being double-minded. But the books always talk about being focused, right? Figuring out your value, your mission. Well, when you have your value and your mission and you decide who you are and who you want to be, if you do that well, you're single-minded.
But the thing is, I would just say too, no one does that on purpose. Like I love Chris's quote, but very few people walk down this road purposely, right? And I think that's the nuance of this. It's not like people go, oh, we're going to talk about integrity. I don't know what it is. It is like, but are we, those of us trying to get to the next level? It's not that we're unaware of this word integrity or being single-minded, or being the same person throughout our life. I don't think that's a revolutionary thought. The question is, are we conscious of it? Like I think too many times folks are blown like the wind. Oh, because of COVID, I can act like an a-hole, or because my aunt died, I can be a jerk, or because my husband or wife mistreated me. That's the whole point. It's like, hey, regardless of the storm, can you be the same person? We all, we started like everybody can be good when things are good. Can you, when the storm's happening, be the same person? And I think that's the key variable, right? No matter what's going on, with few to no excuses, can you keep yourself locked into who you are? Or when it hits the fan, people go, oh, Mike Denker, he's a crazy man when things go wrong, right? Right, that thing right there. And so I think for me, this topic is really about, hey, just doing self-assessment, being self-aware so that you know who you are in a grounded sense. And like Mike just said, being able to, maybe you walk away from such situations are not your sweet spot. And maybe you overly insert yourself in places where your skill is greatly needed. You know what I mean? And so I think that's really what the learning of this is, of being self-aware of where you lie, depending on the circumstance and issue with your integrity, and where you're strongest and maybe where you're weakest, and being aware of that so you don't get yourself in vulnerable spots, right?
You remind me of a word, reflection. Because if we don't reflect, we don't really upon reflection, we can see who we really are, right? We can look at the situation we just went through and reflect on that and go, not the way I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And listen, sometimes we get to reflecting and go, crushed it. Right. And so it's upon reflection that we go, hey, so I crushed it one day, and another day I really disappointed myself.
Yeah.
What's the difference? What happened? And intentionality is going to be the word that pulls into that, right? I was on purpose, right? I wasn't accidental. I wasn't consequential. I was on purpose and intentional. And I decided for myself who I was going to be in this moment.
Yeah.
And then I played it out because we did the show on courage 2 weeks ago. And courage is, listen, it's not that bad things and scary things don't happen, right? That's scary. There's some scary stuff out there. It's that, are you going to allow the scary stuff to scare you out of your values? Are you going to allow the scary stuff to scare you out of or even what other people think about you? Are you going to allow their opinion to scare you out of what you think is right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. I would just say when that goes south, because it will, because we're all human, right? I would just say life lesson. It's like just the ability to say you're sorry, because sometimes we want to run from it, And I just remember when I was a kid, I've told this a couple of times. Most of you are too young for this, but Janet Reno was our attorney general, and we had an incident in Waco, Texas, where there was some cult, and ATF went in there, and it went south. It all went south. It was horrible. A bunch of people died. The operation. We're gonna try to take this guy out. And it was horrible. And during those moments, a lot of people run. They're like, "Ooh, wasn't me. Who's I wasn't me over there. The Goodyear blimp. Who authorized that?" And she went on TV the next morning and said, "Yep, I authorized that. It was my decision. I own it." And she went from who's the attorney general today? Right. So it's like she went from unknown, quiet lady in the background to a national no name, because she just took ownership of it. And so that is integrity. When it's, again, going south, owning it. And then listen, in our personal life, just saying you're sorry, right? Just saying, hey, sorry. None of us are perfect, but a lot of times we run from it. And like, we don't want to just like the words, I'm sorry, that can smooth a lot of feathers, right? The mature people, right? Right. The mature folks, you're able to just, you're really like, ooh, sorry. Because we're all flawed, right? Integrity, it's not perfect. You don't have to be all the time. It's the ability, maturity to own it when it's yours, apologize and move on and get better, right?
You know, Jack, that I'm sorry part. I had a really big moment when I was still pretty stupid. I mean, I'm kind of stupid now, but I had a really stupid phase in my early 20s. And I remember I had a friend of mine that I offended the night before, but I was drinking, right? So I literally, the words were about to come out of my mouth, I'm sorry, but I was drunk. And something said, there was a voice that went into my head and said, that is unacceptable. Yeah. Those words will do nothing to heal the wound. They will do nothing to rebuild up the person or the relationship that you think you value. And it hit me right then. And that was probably the beginning of me stopping drinking right then, because I said, that is no longer an adequate comment from me in a bad situation. And so I just like it. I wanted to be able to say, I'm sorry without the cop out, right? So I never copped out again. I didn't stop drinking immediately, but I never copped out again. I never used those words. I'm sorry, but I was drunk. I still said I'm sorry a lot, but I'm sorry because for some reason I felt like I didn't own the night before. Yeah. Like I didn't own that. Like, oh no, it was you. You know, you own it regardless whether you're over 18.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're ready to sign a contract or not, you know, you've got to take responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
What a great, I mean, it's, and I think that's a huge part of integrity, right? People of integrity, I don't know if they blame never, but they definitely blame a lot less.
This message does not land well on most people, right? Because that's just not where we are in today's culture world. It's like, oh, pass the buck. I have a couple excuses. That whole like no excuses, own it, take responsibility. That, if we're really honest, does not land well with most people. And I would just say, as you get to the higher level of success, ownership, feeling self-actualizing, they are highly correlated. I mean, highly. When you're able to, it doesn't have to be perfect. No one's saying it's perfect, but the ability to own, like in Mike's scenario, Mike didn't know maybe yelling at the person because he was inebriated at that time, but if you take a step back, we just go back in the chain long enough, he made the decision about drinking. So you own that, so then you own everything else that comes with it. I always say, listen, I love sports. If you follow the show, I'm a huge sports fan. And all the athletes that get arrested after midnight, none of them start that way. None of them go, tonight, I'm going to get dressed and get arrested. I look so good. My fleece photo night's going to be in this fur coat, this hat. It never starts that way. Never starts that way. And so we all make decisions, all of it. And even the worst thing, not everything in life, 95% of the things, if you just backtrack it enough, we have a role in it, right? Outside of maybe some, when you're a child, some of the things we don't control, but as an adult, a lot of things we control. Maybe we have to go back 10 steps. Oh, I decided to date that person. You know what I mean? Like there's some, and so when we do that, it lets us really process it better, right? In a way that we're like, oh, I own it. Sorry. Let me make it different going forward, because we always control that part. People typically don't want to pivot. They don't love the pivot because they're like, oh, too much pain in the pivot. You're like, you can always pivot. Whether you're 18, 25, 42, or 60, you can pivot. You're not stuck. We live in America.
And that pivot, we have a friend, Jack, that tells us sometimes we have to get off the hill we're on and look at it from a different hill.
Yeah.
Right. And think about this. So many times in my life, and I swear I know this is not the right prayer, but I've prayed for God to fix the people in my life. And so, but you know what, he always teaches me, I never finish that prayer without being like changing my perspective.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't change. My perspective changed. And here's what's really cool. I can change my perspective right now.
Yeah.
I can't change other people, right? I mean, I can't change other people.
Yeah.
Right. And so I change my perspective now. I think about what it's like to walk in their shoes. I think about what maybe they're going through. I think about one of our friends used to teach us, hurt people hurt other people, right? And so if somebody's hurting me, what's hurting them, right? And so, there's so many interesting things to talk about this, but if your integrity, right, you are the same person, you're intentionally trying to be the same person in every situation. And that doesn't mean the life of the party. That means the heart of the party, right? That means that you're the guy that says, I'm going to stay strong on what's right and what's wrong. Before I walked in here, I'd already made those decisions in my life. Right. And so that
guy or gal.
What?
Guy or gal.
But when you walk into these things, you have to decide, you've already made those decisions and now you're going to live up to them. And then you're going to make some decisions about, if I do that, is it going to make me harder for me to live up to the values that I already decided upon? And these things, we already get those decisions were already made.
Oh, yeah. I used to tell my kids all the time, oh gosh, especially look, if you know you're going to be in situations that could be risky, you have to decide ahead of time, because in the moment we'll all make the bad decision. You have to know ahead of time, hey, when they pull out the drugs or they go to a certain place or whatever, it's very hard. Even if I don't care how old you are, it's very hard in the moment to make the right decision. You have to have decided, hey, I'm not going there. I'm not doing that. I won't be in that situation ahead of time. So when it comes up on the fly, you're like, oh, this isn't my, no chance. Because in the moment, especially if you're under influence or if it's late at night or a lot of peer pressure, we're all highly inclined to do something. So again, that part of integrity that you pre-decide, well, these are off the table for me. Much easier to make the right decision in the moment than when they're peer pressure, late at night, inebriated. Forget it.
Excellent people do not reconsider the basics once a week.
True.
They decided on the basics of their life, and guess what? That frees them up. I think about Steve Jobs wearing black turtlenecks, right? He took the whole concept of choosing wardrobe out of his mix. I'm not going to have the basic thought of wardrobe ever again. It's a black turtleneck. Hey, it's Thursday night. It's spring. What are we going to wear? Black turtlenecks. I mean, it's just like, that is how much time have other people wasted thinking about, what am I going to wear today? Well, Jobs got that out of his life early and said, listen, black turtlenecks, and freed his mind up to think of, instead of what am I going to wear tonight, how can I put music and a phone in the same little box and put it in your pocket? Like when you're not worried about the little things, the big things are there to think about, right? And so that's what integrity is, right? You've made the basic decisions about a good life, and then you've decided to adhere to your decisions. But you made those decisions sober and thoughtfully. Now it's like, well, now I'm going to do the things that aren't going to put those decisions at risk.
Yeah. So I'd love to, it was funny. There were some nuances that are interesting to discuss. And I thought we'd get to this earlier, but I want to pivot a little to this. When folks hear this, hey, do you need, because, we come with a series of words, we feel like you want to master to have success or give you a higher likelihood of success. So when folks hear integrity, right, I get a little, I already had some things on social media put me back. Like, I met my CEO, Tom, or my best friend, Mary. They have no integrity. They've had a ton of success and they've made a ton of money. So you don't need integrity to have success. And so that's what I wrote down. It's like, we all know some a-hole that has success. Like, do they have integrity? And so I guess before I comment, I'd throw that to you, Mike. So your thought, like, is it needed or is it just a nice to have?
Jack, I was thinking about this, and I thought about dominoes. Have you seen the crazy thing they do with dominoes now? Like with 1 million dominoes, and they go up the ramp, down the ramp, around the house, over the knock this. It's mind-boggling if somebody had the wherewithal and the precision to put the dominoes right.
I thought you were talking about Domino's Pizza, but I got
no, I haven't had that in a long time. But but when you think about that's precision and its consistency over a long period of time. That first domino was easy. The second domino is a little bit harder. The 4,000th domino, if that one falls, everything's wrecked. I mean, it's like, and it's like, this is the progression of our life with integrity. You've got to hold it together. You got to keep your dominoes in place. And it doesn't matter if it's the first domino, but the stakes get higher and higher and higher as you get further down. When you're on the 5,000th domino, man, it's like, man, we're really deep and long into this. If you fall then, the stakes are even higher. But here's the cool thing. It's the precision, thoughtful placement of each domino. The precise, thoughtful placement of each domino, considering each action along the way, never saying to yourself, oh, this don't matter. It ain't going anywhere, right? Andy Stanley says it's always going somewhere, right? And so don't fool yourself. We get in trouble because we lie to ourselves and then we're dumb enough to believe it, right? I mean, it's like, don't lie to yourself. Believe the fact you're not the one, right? I'm the one that can go drinking. I'm the one that can drink and drive. I'm the one that can drink and drive and get home. It happened 5 times safely, right? Well, there's a lot of people out there in graveyards that it didn't make it the 6th time. And so, or the 67th time, it'll catch you. Live precisely, controlled placement, everything you do in your life thoughtfully. And here's the neat thing. The rich people that got rich without integrity would give it all for a good night's sleep. The rich people.
You got both mine.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. I'll talk. Jack, what do you got?
Go, finish. Go.
But you think about it, like if you have a bunch of money in the bank and you're looking over your shoulder alone and tired. I'm looking over my shoulder alone and tired. That is nobody's description of a successful life. That is zero. But so if you're myopic and you just look at bank account and you say somebody is successful because of bank account, you don't have one, and you're not on the road to getting one. Because if you want the good life is whole. Back to integrity and integer. The good life is whole. If there's one part doing great and 7 parts suffering, that is not successful. And I don't care what your definition of success is, but you're only successful if you're successful as a human and the wholeness, the holistic part of your life. And so your bank account, if you used no or low integrity to get that bank account, you are not sleeping well. Your neck is stretched out from looking over your shoulder, and you're alone.
Yeah.
And you're buying your friends, you're paying for the $30,000 mattress that you think is stupid to pay for because you're doing whatever you can to get a good night's sleep. You're blaming your snoring when it's really just your lack of integrity is costing you now.
Yeah.
Right? You will pay the fiddler.
Are you like you look like you're like, when you see a spotlight in a city and it swirls around it looks like there's a spotlight coming. Look, it's like it hits you and you get like, look, then you just went dark. So I just wanted to it's like it's okay.
Our lighting is from God today. We get what we get because everything I try to do control it is out. And so I'm at the whim, or I'm at the
mercy of the outside light. I hear you. That's what it looks like. Like cloud just came by. It's when you said the first part, I've not written it down, but that whole like, hey, I've had success with little to no integrity. I would just say we all could think about somebody well known who we knew had looked like on the outside a great success, and then they were caught. Right, all of these scandals that we see, they are embedded in who we are when we were younger. Like very, 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 very few times does a scandal happen suddenly. You know what I mean? Whether pick any famous person, just go look at TMZ, go look at the news feed. Anybody that's well known, they get arrested, their dark secrets exposed, and everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, I did not. Who would have thought?" But typically, it didn't happen yesterday. It's something that was started many years ago, and so for all the folks that feel like, "Oh, I get away with it. Had a lot of success, and there's no consequences. I'm kind of a jerk." Well, I would just say that's really rooted in all the TMZ headlines where somebody who's had great Jesse Smollett. We just had that court case just happened, right? You see him get carried away. It's like, goodness gracious, you're a super famous actor. You're doing great things. You're on a hit show, and because of some other thing, what's happening, it like all falls apart really quickly. Not to get into Jesse Smollett and kind of that situation, but it's like just just know the roosters typically come home to roost. And if you had limited success and you're not well known, no one will find out about it. It's when you get maybe a bigger platform, more well known, and then your fall then is both more painful and more public. So just encourage you, look, that spotlight just went around again. And then just encourage you to that day of reckoning typically comes, right? And then the second thing, I totally agree. You mentioned my thing all the time is we all desire, I don't care if you think you want the most money, you want to have the best spouse, you want to have the nicest car, you want to live in a certain place. All those can sound great. But if you have any of those, like Mike said, and can't put your head on the pillow peacefully at night, none of it matters, right? We all desire the number one thing, whether people know it consciously or subconsciously, it's to be able to put your head on the pillow at night peacefully. That's what integrity gives you. When you can be aligned so that whether you have a ton of money or no money, you have a great spouse or maybe a spouse in progress, you live in a super great home or your home's your, soon to be your starter home, whatever that is, you drive a beater car, you drive a Rolls Royce, whatever it is, none of that matters if you can't go to bed at night, put your head on the pillow peacefully. And that's what all those things, people feel like money will give them that. They feel like, if I just had enough money, I'd stop worrying. Oh, really? Okay. Well, ask a lot of people who have a lot of money. A lot of them have a lot of discontent, right? And so what we're really talking about in the world of true integrity is both having success, but then being able to, behind the scenes or quietly or on your own, put your head on the pillow every night peacefully. That's what everyone desires. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care where you live. I don't care, who you're married to or not married to, what job you have. If it's a constant burden, not in your stomach, all bets are off. You do not have success. And there's a high correlation, I would just say, between success and having real integrity. And when those are aligned, because we all know people as well, I would just say that don't have a lot of money or maybe live in a place we would want to live, but they're joyous as could be. And those type of people are unnerving, right? You meet them, you're like, oh, look at Billy. He is bouncing off the walls. He doesn't have, 2 nickels to rub together, or he lives in a certain place. And so that is so important. That's the intersection of integrity and success. When you can do it publicly for a long time, and you can sleep at night.
It just reminded me, Jack, about being content in the mission. Like, the mission is important. Stay on mission, stay on point, go keep doing the thing that you think is important, but you can find contentment and peace in it. Yeah. Because if you think it's at the end of it, you will always be disappointed. Contentment is the thing to discover and hold on to, and it's not at the end of the road. You find it in the middle of the road, and it frees you up to run faster, farther, and higher than you ever thought before.
Well, on my social media, and those that work in my office know, right when you left my office, it said, enjoy the journey. Hashtag enjoy the journey. It is the journey. It's not the end. The end is not it. As somebody who's had a couple career milestones, I would say, like 3 days later after it happens, you're like, oh, life's back to normal, right? And so it literally is, and it's funny, they put in the scroll, it really is hashtag enjoy the journey. Like, that's where you grow. That's the enjoyment. And sometimes you don't realize that till it's over. And you look back and go, oh, I wish I worked there again. I wish I was back there. You know what I mean? And like, you have to enjoy the process, because that's where your development, joy, peace, relationships all come from. The end goal, whatever it is, the car, the house, the spouse, the job, I promise you, 2 months after you have it, you'll be like, not all it's cracked up to be. So good. I think we have one more meme we wanted to get to about integrity. So as we go to wrap, right? Integrity is choosing courage over comfort, what is right over what is fun, fast, or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them. Like, and I think that's a great wrap up and I think just being cognizant of it is so important. Not perfect, but again, everyone that's had a scandal, everyone that's the night's not ended as they wanted, anyone that potentially, if you've been through a couple marriages, you've had some friendships fall apart suddenly, maybe you got involved in a financial deal that didn't work out great, just being able to connect it back and have the integrity process and being self-aware of it will typically get rid of a lot of the noise and allows you to live holistically in a more peaceful way. And that's all we're trying to do, right? Like, just have some integrity so that you live holistically in a peaceful way. And look, the sun went down again on you. What do you got? Before God turns out all the lights. Hold back. Oh my God. Go ahead.
Living the dream, Jack. We are living the dream. And, it's, you can't take my joy. Like you can't. It's like curveballs. Hit me with a curveball. I'm okay. We'll be all right.
I love what we're going to do to prove this show. We're going to have a private camera in Mike's office after the show, and we'll see how the 10 minutes after the show go. When he's throwing his camera and the lights down. So it's so funny. Well, listen.
That's great. Well, Jack, you and I were on the phone the other day when literally we started a conversation and I wore a fresh iced coffee. I wore it and I can't tell you, you didn't know there was that many cracks and crevices in my office where there was ice or iced coffee. I'm still, it's hysterical. Little remnants of that. And
it was right there. Wasn't it right where you are now?
Right where I am now. I'm sitting in a dry chair, slightly stained.
For an audience, I wish I had that recorded. So Mark and I were starting a video conference, and he reaches for his drink. It dropped, but his face and all. And you know when something happens on a video conference like this, and somebody's like, "Are you okay? We just keep going." And 90% of people are like, "Yeah, we can keep going." Mike goes, "Yeah, this is not a keep going. I'm gonna have to call you back." And you get the moment he just his face, the countenance, he's like, "Oh, so good, so very kept not a swear word, nothing." So he kept his integrity all in check during that moment of craziness. So cool. Any last words, Mike? Anything you want to add to the show to wrap?
It's just be intentional. Choose who you are. Decide who you are, and be that person all the time.
Yeah, I would add to that. We stop chasing the things and look inside yourself. As we put foundational characteristics inside yourself, I promise you the other things will come. The success, especially those you who are like chasing a spouse, when you are comfortable, peaceful on who you are, I just promise you when you meet somebody, it exudes, it comes out of you. Oh, that person. And it's an allure. And so as you are searching for the things in life, the more you look inward and they become foundationally strong, all the other things the world views as success will come. Right? But it starts with foundationally being strong in your integrity and persistence and courage and the things that we have been talking about. And we'll talk about for the next couple of weeks. Hey, what are these traits that create success? And so that's what we'll continue to do over the next couple of weeks. As each week we'll pick a word and kind of talk about it and just talk about the nuances of it. Because again, in this, I think a lot of people go, you don't need integrity to have success. And as we just said, I think to have true success, you really do. That or the day of reckoning is coming. Amen. Listen, one last shout out. I want to remind folks, iHelp. Go to iHelp. Get your iHelp accounts. Love those folks. Amazing. $5 a month. Not a better way to invest in a little thing that will help your career go and make folks finding you and reaching you much easier, particularly if you're in the darkness and someone's turned off your light. You can be iHelp and they'll still be able to find you. Amen? Good?
Amen.
Right. See you next week. Well,
see ya.
I got a drum roll. Hold on. Stay. What?